Welcome to the Back to Brick Property Podcast. I'm your host, David Lamb. On this podcast, we'll be stripping property investors and business people alike back to brick to find out how their journey can help you on your journey. Welcome to the Back to Brick Property Show. I'm your host, David Lamb. On this show, we'll be stripping back property investors and business people alike back to brick to provide tips and advice to help you along your journey. Today, I'm delighted to announce that we have Liam Lewis on the show, a fireman, reality TV star, and now prolific property investor. Welcome to the show, Liam.
Cheers, matey. Pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
No problem at all, mate. No problem at all. Absolute pleasure. Well, Liam, I know a fair bit about you now, but I guess the best place to start is, who is Liam Lewis? How would you introduce yourself to someone who maybe didn't know you?
Oh, straight into the nitty-gritty questions there. First of all, let me address the reality TV star. Thanks for that, by the way, but I don't know about the start. I think it's probably more so reality TV has been.
Modest as ever.
Yeah. Do you know what, mate? If I could answer that question, who was Liam Lewis? It's a tough one, really. I think I've got many layers. I think you can probably unpack my life in different stages, really. So are you looking for like the soul searching Liam Lewis? I've found myself, discovered myself, or the basic bitch. I'm Liam Lewis, 35 from Hartlepool answer.
Not your Tinder profile information. No,
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But no, I guess who was he? Who were you before property? Is what I'm trying to ask.
Yeah. Do you know what, mate? I'd like to just think I'm a genuine lad from Hartlepool. Who's been very fortunate, like you said, to dip his toes in reality TV. I've been very lucky to travel to some nice places through the shows.
Darlington.
Darlington, here we are today, do you know what I mean? Meet some really clever, nice people. But I've stayed true to myself, and now I'm fortunately, making me way in the property industry, doing well for myself and making some good money.
Brilliant, mate. Brilliant. So I guess on the reality TV stuff, do you actually still get recognised in the street then?
Do you know what, mate? I do. I mean, locally, Hartlepool, Teesside, the North East in general, people generally know me now anyway. So, it's not like I'm pretty, a big deal or anything like that. Yeah. So people don't tend to really talk about it now. If I go out of town, I'll get people pointing and, I'll hear people saying, is that Liam Lewis off the TV? There's that dickhead off the TV. Do you know what I mean? You got to take the rough with the smooth. Yeah. So I do still get recognised, and it is nice. Do you know, it's nice that, I've done something and people recognise that. But like I say, there's the other side of it as well, where you've got to have thick skin, and take some stick on the chin.
Yeah, okay. I think that the world is like that in general now, isn't it, with social media, et cetera, et cetera. If you're even known in the slightest, you're going to get so much abuse from the haters online. So yeah, you do have to be thick-skinned. So being on the TV, has that helped you in any way in sort of your professional career, what you're doing in property now, your business journey? Has that helped you at all?
It's a good question, mate. Off the top of my head, business-wise, property-wise, I'd probably say no. Right. I don't think it has had any influence, really. Obviously, by doing the TV shows, getting the exposure, making some money, it brought about certain opportunities. But in terms of property, I'd say no, really. What I would say is the TV shows give me a platform. And I think when I was doing them, there was so many opportunities that kind of come my way. I almost feel like I didn't really grasp them or grab them with both hands, really, because at the time, it was kind of before the reality TV bubble, really, certainly before Instagram. Yeah. So there was opportunities kind of coming my way, which I didn't really know how to take them. All I wanted to do was kind of enjoy myself off the back of it, go out and party and do the PAs in clubs and that type of thing. And then once things started to slow down, I thought, shit, have I kind of missed the boat here? Should I have maybe took that opportunity? Should I have done that? And that's when I thought, I've had a taste of that. And I sort of thought, right, now I need to kind of like make a move and and get involved in something. That's when kind of property come my way. So I mean, the answer to the question, probably definitely not property wise.
It's interesting you touch on that, because it just shows in the short period of time between your TV appearances and now how much the world has changed. Because you touched on that Instagram wasn't really around when you were on reality TV. I mean, it probably was, but it wasn't the thing it is today. And how much sort of extra exposure you would have had Instagram, Facebook, etc., been as TikTok has been as big as it was today. And I guess the bigger advantage you would have had of being on TV now rather than a few years ago, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, certainly Instagram. Instagram was kind of it was just starting out then.
Yeah.
It was all about Twitter. Twitter was mad. It was a crazy space back then.
Yeah.
I mean, I went from having 500 followers to over 100,000 in the space of a week.
Bloody hell.
So Twitter blew up. You know, I was getting 10,000 likes per post, and
Nice.
it was a mad space. It was kind of influencing before influencing was a thing, really. And you know, there was a lot of trolling, and that was before there was any awareness around trolling. So it was a strange place to be, really. And it was Instagram had kind of just started, and then maybe, I would say, a year down the line, Instagram was massive. And that's when, you know, the whole Love Island thing kind of kicked off. And I almost think, I wish it had been a year later.
Yeah.
Would things have been different? But I mean it today because of, you know, what the journey I've been on, and it was great.
Yeah, and you've still got that foundation of following. Your Instagram following's very healthy, as I've seen, you know. And I think the more and more you do this type of thing, podcasts, the more property deals you do, and sort of showcase them online, that initial foundation that you've got, that awareness of Liam Lewis, can only help you further and further in the future the more you do.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. I mean, these things are great. You know, these things like podcasts, they give you a massive foundation and platform to work from.
Yeah.
And certainly in property, in the property game, you know, if you're looking to network and bring angel investors on board, or you're looking to do joint ventures, these type of things give you that platform.
It's the credibility, isn't it? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it is.
Exactly. And with the credibility comes from your story. It's a great story, and we'll touch on that now. So, on a day-to-day basis, you're actually a fireman. You've been doing that long term. But what was the motivation for then going into property as well?
Yeah, going into property, like you said there, you've touched on. I've been a fireman for 12 years. You know, it's a great job. It gives me plenty of time off to kind of explore the avenues, and moving into property, I kind of break it down into how and why, really. I mean, the why was because I wanted to take control of my own financial situation. I wanted to take control of my future, and I always had that entrepreneurial instinct about me, where I knew I wanted to be, a businessman. I wanted to kind of grow my own baby, really. Yeah. It was just navigating through that and finding what sector, what industry I wanted to be in. So yeah, I wanted to take control of my own financial situation for freedom, really. Have the ability to kind of, work from anywhere in the world, or, go on holiday, with your partner and your friends kind of whenever you want. That freedom, that's why I done it. The how, probably a little bit lucky, really, because my best mate, he's a mortgage advisor. And basically, he was working, long story short, he was working for Yorkshire Bank, and he was doing really well. He decided to set up his own business. So him and a friend, they set up their own mortgage broker and business. And I just seen him scale rapidly. And I'm thinking, I've got access to him, his knowledge, his network. I need to take advantage of that. I seen him scale, and I thought, you know what, the property game's for me. I'm gonna get, I'm gonna get involved, basically. So basically, using my network, that's why.
Yeah. Okay. Well, fair play to you for having the awareness. I'm sure a lot of us have had friends doing well in certain sectors over the years and sort of not taking advantage of it. So first of all, well done for having the awareness to sort of spot what your friend was doing and the opportunities that could create for you yourself. So that's great. You touch on your entrepreneurial sort of. It was in you from birth. So was there anyone in your family sort of was your father entrepreneurial? Where does it come from?
It's a good question. Certainly not my dad. He's a polar opposite. He's he's a grafter, my dad. He really is, and that's probably where I got that work ethic from.
Yeah.
But he's like me. He's a fireman, and he's done it for over 20 years now. He's been a labourer for a lot of his life, and so it's certainly not from him or my mum either. She's a self-employed barber. Right. So I don't think I get that entrepreneurial instinct from them two. Me uncle, however, he was a fireman as well. It kind of runs in the family, that.
Right, okay.
But he did have a property business as well in the early 2000s. And I think at one point he had between 30, 40 properties. But the property market was very different back then. There was no BRR strategy. It was a different space back then. But I remember thinking, that's very interesting how he's managed to build a portfolio. And I was always inquisitive, and I always asked questions. So maybe there's something rubbed off there.
Maybe there was a seed planted a little subconsciously that you weren't aware of until your mortgage advisor friend sort of reactivated that.
Do you know what, mate? Yeah, you could be right there. It's interesting kind of, thinking about that, and you could be right.
Yeah. Yeah, well, that's great. I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter where the influence come from, but it's obviously had a positive effect on you. So that first property deal, when you finally took the jump, what did that first deal look like? What were the numbers on that?
First deal, to be honest, mate, my first deal was actually a rent-to-rent service accommodation.
Oh, right, okay.
So again, off the back of my friend scaling his business, I thought, how am I going to get involved in this industry? Basically, that same friend, he'd been to a networking event, and he bumped into two guys who were actually scaling a rent-to-rent service accommodation business, and they were doing really well. He told me about it, and I was really intrigued because I'd never heard of rent-to-rent before, and I thought, this is what is this? How does it work? What does it entail? Basically, he put me in touch with these two guys, and they give me a proposal. Basically, what the proposal was, we would do a joint venture. I would come on board as the investor, and they were based down in Birmingham, close to the NEC, close to Resorts World.
Yeah.
And the idea was we would rent a house on a 3-year rental agreement. And then what we would do is we would re-rent it back out as serviced accommodation. Right. So on Airbnb, on Booking.com, because footfall in that area was really high. Yeah. Events at the NEC and Resorts World. And the proposal was, worst case scenario, I'd get my initial investment, which was £10,000, back in 2 years. Best case scenario, I'd have my money back, 10K back in 6 months, and then we'd have 2.5 years at profit. And I thought, this is a fantastic foot in the door. This is very interesting. So I went for it, and it was going really well. And I need to be careful what I say here because things went sour very, very quickly. And there's a lot of, you'll know yourself, there's a lot of property experts, property gurus claiming, selling the dream basically. Anyway, things were going really well for 6 months, and I got half my investment back, and I thought, nice. I'm onto a winner here. Yeah. And then I was getting the spreadsheets through month to month, and I was making £500, £1,000 profit every month. And then the next month it was £1,000 in the red, and then the next month it was £1,000 in the red, and I thought, what is going on here? Too many red flags. Anyway, long story short, it turns out that went a little bit bent. They had the fingers in other pies. And I said, look, enough's enough. I want out. And I managed to get out. I got my full investment back, plus a little bit of profit. Yeah. And that was my intro into property. Not a great experience.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, it's not a great experience, I guess, in the short term. But the fact that you've learned some very harsh lessons from that, I'd imagine. Exposed to property, exposed to rent, a different type of method that you'd never had any exposure to. You've also got out scot-free financially. You've got your money back out. So you've got all those lessons that are going to stand you in great stead for the future, and you've got all your money back out. So you must look back on that period now and think, that was beneficial.
Oh, 100%, mate. It was, definitely beneficial. I learned so much about myself and about JV ventures as well, because what I will say to people listening out there, if you are interested in doing a joint venture, make sure you do your due diligence. Make sure you know who they are. You've done your homework, you've done your research, because people, when money's involved, people can go, it can change quickly. Definitely. So many lessons learned. But what it also done was it made me realise, this property game is for me. And instead of doing, rent to rent or service accommodation, I realised I want to do this on my own. And I started researching the other strategies.
Okay. That's interesting, because a lot of people's early mistakes cost them sort of 10, 20, potentially upwards of that thousands in especially getting involved in the wrong JV, just buying the wrong type of property, underestimating the refurb, leasehold issues, etc., etc. It costs you tens of twenties of
100%.
Thousands. And then you go on from there and you build from the lessons you've learned. You've been learned some very harsh lessons, but come out, again, I know I'm repeating myself, but come out financially sound. But it's also given you that taste of property, and you've realised you love it.
100%, mate. I mean, potentially, if it went well, I might have went on to do more rent to rent.
True.
But I'm where I am today with my portfolio because of that experience and because of that lesson. So, hey, everything happens for a reason, and I wouldn't change that.
Yeah, for sure. So from that experience, obviously that was your sort of get out of rent to rent. You went on to a different method. So I believe your next one was a BRR.
Yeah, the next one was the BRR, and that's when my life changed, mate. That is the GOAT of strategies.
It is. I love it. I live by it.
Exactly. You know yourself, mate.
Yeah.
I mean, going after the rent-to-rent experience, I then started researching the straties, and BRR, I was mind-blown. I was like, how can this work?
Seems too good to be true, doesn't it?
It really does, mate. And until you do that first one, you are a bit sceptical. You're apprehensive, and you think, are people full of shit?
Yeah, exactly.
And so I was researching that strategy. And like I say, very fortunate to have a best mate as a broker. And I was torturing him. I was packaging deals like every day, saying, what do you think about this one? What do you think about that one? But actually, before I bought my first one, mate, this is the interesting thing. I was finding properties on Rightmove that were 30 grand, that were 25 grand. And I was sending them over to me mate. And I was saying, what about this one? And I hope he doesn't mind me saying this, because he's the expert. He's the property expert. But he was saying, you can't buy that, mate, because it's under 40k.
Yeah.
And at the time I was like, nah, I'm not having that. There must be a way of purchasing that property without being a cash buyer. And at the time, we now realise he wasn't a commercial broker. He was a resi broker. Okay. So he wasn't aware of the bridge finance space at the time.
Right, okay.
So even his advice was a bit, well, you can't
outdated.
Do it. And I thought, no, I'm not having it. So I went out there, and luckily I managed to find a broker who could do it. If I'd listened, I might not be here today again. Yeah. But I didn't. I kept at it, and I found a broker, and then discovered bridge finance. And then that's when I managed to buy my first BRR property.
Yeah. So just for those who don't know, so BRR, buy, refurbish, refinance. So you're buying a property below market value, as they say, but basically buying a property cheap enough to add enough value through a refurb. You're creating more value through your refurb than you are spending on the refurb. Yeah. And then you're refinancing out at 75% loan to value of the new valuation, and with the aim of pulling all, or if not most, of your cash back out the deal to then use on your next deal.
That's the one.
So is that how your first sort of deal panned out?
Exactly that, mate. So, I mean, before I bought that first one, I must have viewed 40, 50 properties, packaged them all, and I was working the numbers out down to a penny, and I was thinking, I've left £1,000 in that one, there must be a better one. And you know yourself...
Get obsessed, don't you?
You do. And those deals now aren't about...
They're not.
they're just not there anymore. And I wish I'd bought all those 40 properties. I wish I'd bought now.
Yeah, I know. I was the same. There's the streetfuls that I turned down because I couldn't get them for. They wanted $5,000 more than I wanted, and you know they've doubled in price now. And it is you become obsessed with BRR. I'm the same. Every property, first sort of 20, 25 properties I bought with BRR. But I got obsessed, and I wouldn't buy my own home unless it was BRR.
Yeah,
and then my mum would be looking at a new bungalow, and she'd tell me the numbers, and I think, well, that's not BRR.
Yeah, exactly.
But then you remember, just because your mum wants a home, not everyone's as obsessed with it as you are.
Exactly.
But, so did you continue with?
So basically, I bought the first one from auction, and it cost me 28 grand, mate.
Oh wow.
And then I spent, so again, like I say, I bought it through Bridge Finance, put the 25% deposit in. I spent, it was a light to moderate refurb, 7 grand it cost me. I was pulling my mates in to help out. I'll give my mate a shout out, Richie. He's a tradesman, and he was instrumental in that first one, helping me out and basically doing everything for me. I mean, I got in there and stripped out and saved money where I could.
Yeah.
But yeah, saving that money on the refurb really allowed me to get that good first BRR under my belt.
Yeah.
So I think I spent 7 on it. With fees and stuff, I was in the deal for about 35 to 37k.
Yeah.
That then refinanced at 60k.
Wow.
And I think I got 80% LTV on that very first one.
Okay.
It was still hanging about.
Nice, okay.
Pulled all my money out. Straight on to the next.
So 28 grand purchase, 7k refurb. Everything was cheaper back in those days, wasn't it?
It was.
Even the fees on your mortgages and stuff.
Yeah.
So
it was.
28 grand, 7 grand refurb, plus your fees. So you're in it for 30, like you say, 35 plus.
Yeah.
And then refinance 80% at 60 grand, so 48 grand back out. I mean, that's a dream.
It was for the first one, and this is the critical part. If that first one doesn't go well and you leave too much money in that deal, it's going to prevent you from scaling and buying more.
Yeah.
So it's important you get that first one right, and I nailed this one.
Yeah.
Before that refinance went through, I'd already bought the second one.
Right. Similar numbers?
Very similar numbers. I spent a little bit more on the refurb. And this is where the inexperience crept in, really. I'm not a tradesman. I've got no skill in terms of, anything technical, I can get in and throw a hammer about and graft, but when it comes to anything that requires patience, it's not for me.
Yeah.
So there was a couple of things I missed on the view, and it had damp and rotten floor joists, so it did cost me a little bit more on the refurb, and that's when I thought, oh shit, actually this can potentially go wrong.
Yeah.
You've got to be careful when you do those viewings.
Yeah, you get almost overconfident, don't you?
You do, yeah. And lessons in that though. I learned quickly from that. But still, the numbers were great. Pulled me money out, and again, I was straight on to the third.
Superb. So I guess as you went along that BRR journey, what were your biggest challenges from that? We've talked about the positives. What were the biggest challenges?
The biggest challenges I've come across so far, probably in the early days, buying the property cheap. Having capital there wasn't a massive issue, really. As the projects get bigger and the properties become more expensive, using the BRR strategy, capital is probably the biggest clawback, really. Yeah. Money, because when you think you're tying money up for long periods of time, so having liquid cash there for me is probably the biggest clawback, because there's so many opportunities out there on your doorstep, and by opportunity I mean so many cheap properties. Yeah. The Northeast is a breeding ground for cheap property.
It's a mecca, isn't it?
It really is, mate. You know yourself.
We're blessed, aren't we?
Yeah, we certainly are. Yeah. So, I mean, I could buy 10 a day, if the cash was there available. So that's probably the one thing that's kind of only stopping me from scaling even quicker, really.
Yeah. It's interesting that you've sort of been exposed to some quite advanced property techniques so early in your career, because, I mean, rent to rent, you didn't even know what that was. That's a relatively new thing. That was your first deal.
Yeah.
Then you've done BRR using bridging. Now, I know investors that haven't bought, have had to buy sort of 20, 25 properties before they dare use bridging, because it's an unknown. You've just jumped in, you've done a rent to rent, and then you've started using bridging.
It's an unregulated market, isn't it?
Yeah.
But what I do say to people is, if the deal stacks, it stacks. Forget about that 3% fee, it might be 3 or 4 grand
Yeah.
that you wouldn't pay on a normal, residential property
Yeah.
if you buy and you sell. Forget about that 1% interest per month. If you package that deal properly and the numbers work on that refinance, who cares what the fees are?
Exactly.
And that's what, it's money moving around. And when you get comfortable with moving money around,
it becomes a game, doesn't it?
It is. It's a game of chess.
It is, yeah.
Real life Monopoly, isn't it?
It is. It's exactly what it is, yeah. But yeah, I mean, that must have given you so much confidence, though, to go out there and just use bridging, do some successful BRRs, get your money back out. When those first few refinances landed in your bank, you must have been like, get me involved in more of this.
Oh, 100%, mate. I was addicted at that point. I really was addicted. It's like, right, when can I buy the next one? Just quickly moving on to the third one. It actually, by the time I'd refinanced the second one, COVID had hit, and I'd recently put an offer in on the third one, and I think it was advertised it was guided at 50k, and he wouldn't budge on the price, but the numbers stacked, so I bought it. COVID hit, and they stopped all borrowing, so that the lender wouldn't borrow. And I was thinking, I can't miss out on this property because it's going to refinance at 80, 90. I used a little technique and said, look, who knows how long these lenders are going to be preventing us from borrowing. I said, but I can afford 39 in cash.
Yeah.
The guy said, look, yeah, let's do it. So I saved another 11k there straight away just by thinking outside the box a little.
Using the situation to your advantage.
Using the situation to your advantage. Managed to get it over the line. And that was a fantastic one. So the luck has kind of, aired.
Well, you make
to
your
my
own luck.
side.
The old adage, you do make your own luck, because if you weren't going out and having the conversations and finding the properties and doing all the hard work, then the luck wouldn't have fallen on your lap anyway, would it?
I do agree, mate. Yeah.
So brilliant, mate. So superb start to your property journey. You then progressed into HMOs. Then why was that?
Oh, HMOs. Well, like we say about the BRR being the golden nugget of strategies. Well, HMOs is very similar. It's like BRR on steroids, really.
Yeah.
Because we quickly began to realise if you can buy a property in Hartlepool or wherever, and if you can get at least 6 bedrooms into that HMO, what you can do is you can flip that property onto a commercial mortgage, which means you can uplift the value of that property beyond bricks and mortar.
Yeah.
So if that property has a ceiling price of 160, it's bricks and mortar, potentially you can increase that 20-30% even higher commercially.
Yeah.
So we thought, if we get into this HMO game here, we can refurb the property using the BRR strategy, but we can add even more value and pull even more money out. So that was the really interesting thing for us. And also, I think I'd done 5, 6 or 7 BRR standard buy-to-lets then. So it was a case of, wanting to move on to bigger projects. Progress, and learn the legislation, the regulation around HMOs as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so just touching on that, so bricks and mortar valuation is your normal day-to-day valuation of a property that you'll see on Rightmove.
Yeah.
From a commercial point of view, if you, like you said, it's the commercial valuation. It values the property on the income that it's generating.
Exactly.
Which obviously, as you've touched on, can sometimes mean sort of 30% extra value on your property.
Yeah.
Which makes things a lot easier going forward, doesn't it? So.
Yeah. What I will say is in theory, it sounds easy there, but it can be difficult. And
very much so, yeah.
And there's very few lenders that will borrow commercially on 6 beds.
Yeah.
If you increase it to 7 beds, you then need to go through planning and change the use from C3 to C4. So you will always get a commercial valuation then.
Yeah.
But if you can get a commercial valuation on a 6-bedder and avoid the planning process, which makes things a lot more cost effective, you're onto a winner there.
Yeah. So what type of, tell me more about your HMOs. What type of tenants have you got in the HMOs?
So the tenant demographic is working class tenants, professionals, working professionals. So as it stands, I've got the first HMO, which is a 6-bed, that's full, all with working professionals. The second one is pretty much done now. A little bit of snagging, carpets have just went in, and again it'll be working professionals as
again.
well.
Yeah. So how are they performing so far? Are you suffering from high tenant turnover? Have you had a good long run at it?
It's been great, mate. All the tenants are fantastic. Yeah, very lucky, really. I mean, I do manage the properties myself,
Right.
And I think in the early days, I think that's important. Certainly if you're spending lots of money on the refurb, you want to know who's in them.
Yeah.
So I manage them myself, and it's important to get that relationship with the tenants.
Yeah.
So they're all long-term tenants. They've all been in there over 6 months. So it's working really well. All rents are paid on time. Do you know what? There's a stigma attached to HMOs, a negative stigma.
Yeah.
Which it's been around for years, as you'll know yourself.
Yeah, definitely.
Where people think HMOs are slummy, they're in bad condition, they attract the wrong people.
Yeah.
And that's not the case. There will be properties out there like that,
Yeah.
but we're very much trying to shake that stigma off. Ours are all in excellent condition with en suites.
Yeah.
So we're trying to shake that.
Yeah, I think it's a generational sort of opinion, isn't it? I think if you ask our parents or whatever, HMO, what they see is a like you said, a bed sit almost, a low quality, dirty slum kind of property.
Yeah.
HMOs these days, I mean, some of the standard of HMOs in the northeast that I've seen, well, around the country to be honest, is just incredible.
Yeah,
like
agree.
Top-end hotel standards almost.
Yeah.
Some of the interior design that goes into these places, because they're generating that higher cash flow, you can afford to spend another sort of 15, 20 grand on your interiors. And some of the standards, and I've seen pictures of yours, and I know yours are very, very high standard as well. It's, that tag of the sort of slum bedsit type of property, that's going to be shaken off.
Yeah, it's got to, mate. I mean, the way that the modern world is moving now, things are changing. With rise in energy costs and rent rates increasing, the modern world is moving in the HMO direction. People want good, affordable accommodation.
Yeah.
So you're going to be seeing a lot more of them. Hopefully, certainly, we certainly want to buy more.
Yeah. So. Well, from a tenant's point of view, I guess these HMOs, they're generally within the centre of town, surrounded by amenities.
Yeah.
Great quality ensuite rooms, like you've touched on there, and they're getting it for sort of £400-500 a month with all bills included.
Yeah.
If you're renting just a one-bed apartment in some of these city centre locations, you're looking at £800-900 before your bills.
Yeah.
So it's a no-brainer for a lot of people. Yeah.
It makes sense, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely makes sense. And also, you've got that, you've got that community feel as well.
Yeah.
You've got the shared amenity space there, kitchen, diner. So if you are a single person or you've relocated from somewhere else, then it's ideal because there's other people living in there that you can maybe get that bond with. You're not going to get on with everyone, but it offers that as well.
Yeah, there's definitely a social element, isn't there?
Yeah.
Especially if you've just moved from out of town, all of a sudden you've got 5 instant friends or potential friends within your house, haven't you? So, great journey so far. We've talked about a lot of deals. So what would you say has been your best deal so far as we sit here today?
The best one? When the money lands in the bank, they're always the best.
Right.
I mean, the first one's always the sweetest because you're always, like I said earlier, you're always a bit sceptical. Is it going to work? Is it going to value? So I think the first one's more of a relief than anything.
Yeah.
And then when the confidence grows, then the deals become really nice. I would probably say my most recent project is probably the best one because we've had to overcome so many obstacles and jump through so many hoops to get where we are. And like I said there, it's just about complete now.
So tell us about that deal then.
Yeah, so I mean, going back to the first HMO, through inexperience, basically, we thought it would value for X amount. We made a mistake of not putting 2 en suites in the ground floor rooms, which we didn't get that commercial valuation straight away. We got bricks and mortar. By this point, we'd already bought the next project, which is the latest one. So we had a cash flow problem there because we didn't manage to pull all that money out from that deal. We were left with, shit, we've got half the budget here. And this recent project, what we've done is we've bought a commercial building, we've split it in two. So it's now semi-commercial, 4-bed HMO upstairs and commercial space ground floor. So I've got 3 commercial rooms in that ground floor.
Oh, brilliant. Okay.
And with half a budget, we thought, shit, what we're going to do? So initially we bridged it, and then we thought, right, we'll do the ground floor first. So we managed to get that up to spec, new kitchen, painting, new heating system, toilets, etc. We got that ready. We got tenants in there. Then we had to rebridge again,
Right.
which meant more fees. It meant more interest, and that was never in the plan. The plan was only to ever do one 12-month bridge,
Yeah.
and flip it.
Just to get the funds to complete it.
Yeah. So just to get the funds. So luckily we managed to add the value from the downstairs.
Right. Okay.
Added that value, pulled the money back out, and then
Oh, that's interesting. So I didn't realise that. So you actually bridged mid renovation using the uplift that you'd already created on the ground floor.
Yeah,
Oh, that's tremendous.
Yeah. And this is it. You can be very colourful with how you do your bridging.
Yeah.
And you can borrow money from in particular ways that people might not think what you can do.
Yeah. Just got to ask the question, I guess.
Of course you do, yeah. So we managed to rebridge. It gave us some capital there again to then tackle the upstairs. We did still have some cash flow problems on that, so I had to lean on an angel investor, which is the first time I've ever had to do that. I've always just used my own money.
Yeah.
And we're at a point now where the light is at the end of the tunnel. We can see the finish line. As you've seen recently, the rooms are all done and they're looking great.
Yeah, they look great. Yeah.
So for those reasons, that's probably my best deal because it's been a fucking ball ache, to be honest, mate.
Lessons learned again.
Oh, many. I mean, some of the things that's went on, you wouldn't even foresee. There's a massive tree in the front garden.
Right.
It turns out it's a listed tree. That tree's got more rights to be in that garden than I do. And it's the roots have penetrated through drains and all sorts. And when you're buying that property, you don't think about those type of things. And these are the things that you can come across.
Yeah, I've been burnt by the trees in the past. Yeah.
It's a bit of pill to swallow, isn't it?
It is, yeah. So I love deals like that. I mean, it's very diverse. You know, you've got your 3 commercial units on the ground floor. And then you've got the residential aspect above that with your 4 HMO rooms. So you're spreading your risk there, aren't you?
Yeah, and that's what it was about. I mean, at the time, the 6 bedrooms in the first HMO, they weren't rented out. And we thought, is there any demand? Shall we spread the risk? So we thought, yeah, let's spread the risk. Let's make sure, let's cover all bases. Turns out the demand's massive and we would have no problems filling 8 to 10 residential rooms in that property.
Right.
But either way, we've now got, a property there with certain different elements going on.
Yeah. So who have you got in your commercial units on the ground floor? What type of businesses?
Yeah, so the businesses at the moment, we've got an events company in the front,
Right.
An aesthetics, Botox business in the middle, and then I'm actually creating a podcast room.
Oh, superb.
At the back, so if you're lucky, you might get invited on
Yeah,
as well,
right,
mate.
yeah. Play my cards right, yeah. Oh, superb, mate. So I guess those, everyone's talking at the moment about the high street dying.
Yeah.
But everywhere I look, sort of not in the central hubs, but elsewhere in every town around the northeast, there's not an empty shop anywhere. You touched on the aesthetics companies. There's loads of them bouncing about. There's, I think it's a really good time for businesses like that. People stayed away from commercial property over the last decade because there was the general outlook that the high street was dying, but I don't think that's necessarily true.
No, I'd agree with you there, mate. I mean, if you look at the town centres, they're not really booming. But again, it's the type of accommodation these businesses are trading from. Because like the HMOs, they're renting one room.
Yeah.
It's all bills included.
Yeah.
So they don't have to worry about overheads, paying gas and electric. They've got their own little space that they can work from. and it seems to be working great for small businesses, like you say.
Yeah. Long may that continue.
Yeah.
So you're doing plenty of deals for yourself very successfully, but you're also sourcing property deals for other investors as well.
Yeah, do a bit of sourcing. Not a massive amount of it. It's a little bit slow. Basically, it kind of came about because I package so many deals on a daily basis. Anywhere between 5-10 deals, and I was realizing I was spending all this time packaging deals and not doing anything with them. Just because they don't work for me doesn't necessarily mean they won't work for somebody else.
Yeah.
So that's when I thought, you know what, I'll start offering these deals out to other investors. I mean, if I'm looking for a BRR where I get the majority of my money back out, someone might be wanting just a property. They might be sat in a heap of cash and they just want a long-term investment. That might be a perfect deal for them.
Yeah.
So that's the thinking around that. Offer those deals out, and it's slow, like I say. But even if you do one a month, it's better than nothing.
Of course it is, yeah. Yeah, and it's interesting what you said there, and it's very true. Not everybody, you fall into the trap, and you and I are both obsessed with BRR. You fall into the trap of thinking that that's everybody's criteria, don't you? But, you do meet a lot of investors where they just have a big pot of cash, be it a payout from pension fund or inheritance, and they just want to store that cash somewhere and have a nice little tangible investment that ticks over. So you're right.
Yeah,
from that point of view, it's worth offering out to your investors. And it might meet their criteria.
Yeah, exactly. You get that networking as well.
Yeah, for sure.
And who knows, you might come across an investor who goes, actually, shall we do a joint venture?
Yeah.
On that one. So, if you don't ask, you don't get.
Exactly, yeah.
You've got to put yourself out there. And that's when, relationships start to materialise.
Of course it is, yeah. Yeah, I think that's right. It's sourcing to new investors especially, it's a great networking opportunity, So you've got a lot going on, professionally and at home. So what is, I guess, property-wise, what is your main focus right now?
My main focus at the moment, strategy-wise, I would probably say HMOs and flips, purely because the standard buy-to-let market has dried up a little bit. The rates are a lot higher, so you're not getting that cash flow month to month. Some of my rentals, they were making $350 profit per month. If you're buying a standard residential now with the rates, you're probably only going to get £100 if you're lucky. Yeah. So if you're looking for a cash flow business where you're going to make money month to month, you're going to have to buy a hell of a lot of standard buy-to-lets to create that cash flow. Yeah. But I'm not a snob. If there's a deal that stacks, then I'll dip my toes in it.
Yeah, sure.
But yeah, I would say they're probably my main focus, those strategies at the moment.
I think the market, standard buy-to-let market, you're right, the margins have tightened up. There's absolutely no getting away from that. I think next year, 2024, 2025, that's my guess is as good as anybody's, I guess. But I do think, sellers asking prices, vendors' expectations of prices haven't quite adjusted to the new rates yet. We're getting the low margins, and those asking prices haven't really come down, have they?
No.
Not dramatically anyway.
They haven't, no.
And I think it just needs a period of adjustment, I think, and those asking prices will start to come down, and we will start seeing those standard buy-to-let deals working again, because rents have gone up as well. Rents are going up sort of 10-15% in some areas per annum. So I think we will sort of be back in a sweet spot sort of next year, 2025. What do you think about that?
Yeah, totally agree. I mean, I think we are starting to see that they change slightly. They're coming down bit by bit, but definitely nowhere to where they need to be. So I agree with you there. Next year is going to be an interesting year to see where they're at, and hopefully those rates come down as well. And it could be.
Yeah, I think everyone's hoping that they come down. I think everyone's realistic enough to know they're not going to come down dramatically. But if you can just get 4.5 as the new norm, all of a sudden a lot of deals, standard buy-to-let deals, start working again.
Of course they do. Yeah.
So I guess, Liam, where would you like to see your property portfolio in 5 years' time from now?
In 5 years' time, I mean, I've managed to scale to 11 properties in 4 years.
Unbelievable.
And I think the first 5 are always the most difficult. When you're learning the strategy, you're finding your feet, you're networking, you're building that experience. So, if I keep on scaling at the same trajectory and pace, then you're probably on into the 20s, 30s.
Yeah.
I'm not chasing numbers portfolio wise. It'd be great to say I've got 100 properties in my portfolio, but if those after those deals don't stack and they're not making money, then what's the point in them?
Exactly.
That they've got to stack. So just continue at the same pace. And I've just bought one this week, another HMO. So,
right. Okay. Tell us about that one then. How did that one go?
Oh God, where do I start with this one? So we got this one. It'll be about 22 days ago now from auction, and it was just an online auction. So we managed to get that one over the line. We won it, and this is an oversight from me. I've been in the game 5 years, but you still make mistakes. I thought it was a modern day auction, which is 56 days to complete once contracts have been exchanged.
Yeah.
Turns out it was traditional. It's got to be complete in 14 days. If you're a cash buyer, that's easy. If you're using bridge finance through a limited company, it becomes tough because solicitors have got to do their thing and get paperwork sorted and this, that, and the other. So we were like, shit, this we might struggle here. Potentially, if you don't complete on that 14th day, you potentially lose your investment, which was 10% up front. It was about 10 grand.
Right. So
we were shitting ourselves thinking, shit, we might lose this 10K. Luckily, the network I've managed to build in the last 4 years, i.e. my best mate being a broker, I can ring them up and go, is this getting done? This needs doing today. And also I've got a good relationship with my solicitor. Yeah. We pushed it and it took 16 days.
Right.
It was looking like we were going to get hit for some extra fees and interest, which was a bit of a sickener. But in the end, the vendor basically said, look, we're happy to complete, and we got the job done, which was a major relief. But it was definitely squeaky bum time for a bit. And again, mate, this is what happens with property.
Yeah.
In theory, everything sounds easy, but things happen when you least expect it. You've got to be prepared. You've got to be, have the right mindset.
Yeah, for sure. And more lessons learned. End of the day, you'll look back and laugh in 6 months' time. When the property's cash flowing.
Absolutely.
And I could tell from your Instagram that you were getting pretty stressed about the whole situation.
I think our lass was sick of us at that point.
I'm sure she was, yeah. But at least you got the property over the line, mate, and it's another one in the bag. And I'm sure next time we catch up, we can talk about how the numbers are looking on that one. Absolutely. So I guess, what does the future hold for you? Are you looking to go into property full time? Is that the aim?
Short term, I'll probably say future. I'll probably end up going back to Turkey and getting the hairline switched up, a new set of veneers. But property-wise, mate, keep doing what I'm doing. Keep building the portfolio. Potentially, getting involved in new builds. Yeah. It can take 12 months to do a property internally. Yeah. It takes probably less than that to build it up from the ground.
Very true. Yeah.
The sticking point is acquiring the land and other things which I'm in experience with at the moment. Yeah. But that's one area I do want to get involved in. Yeah. And also, I feel like there's a real big niche for affordable training and mentorship.
Right. Okay.
In the property industry.
Yeah.
Deep down, I'm a coach as well, so I was a PT for quite a few years. And basically, when I started, there's a lot of property gurus, experts out there that bang the drum that they're the best in the business and selling the dream. And some of the prices of training packages are extortionate. Yeah. And it's
unbelievable what people pay.
It's crazy, mate.
Incredible.
And hey, they might work, but I'm a little bit unsure about these prices, and I think there's a real niche for affordable training and mentorship out there. When I started, there was nothing like that available. Yeah. You're paying thousands and thousands to go on these courses. Yeah. So I think that potentially I want to build a bit of a training framework there to offer out to up and coming property investors, people who are wanting to get involved in the game, don't know where to go, don't know where to look, don't have the money to spend on these courses, and offer some, real good quality property training.
Yeah. No, I think there is. I think there is a gap in the market there because, like you said, some of the fees that people pay are just eye-watering. When people tell me, it's just incredible.
Yeah.
And a lot of people do very well out of them. I'm not knocking them, but you do still have to go out there and do the work. You can have all the knowledge in the world, but if you haven't got the get up and go in you to go out and actually do it, then you're just wasting your money.
Yeah. Totally.
And unfortunately, from what I've seen from an outsider looking in, sort of 90% of people fall by the wayside.
Yeah.
Rather than actually getting the benefit of that course, I guess. So that leads nicely into a couple of questions I want to ask because I get a lot of new property investors listening to the show. If you had one tip for a brand new property investor just starting out today, what would that be?
Anyone starting out today, do you know what? It's maybe not just property related, this, but I tend to focus on the 3 Bs: brain, body, and business. You've got to make sure you're ticking all the boxes. Don't neglect one and focus on the other one too much because it's going to cause you problems. Make sure you're doing that research. You've got your head in a book. You're training that brain, but also keep yourself fit. Get yourself in the gym.
Yeah.
Stay healthy. Because if you don't, you're not going to turn up that business meeting in the best condition, physically and mentally. Property is a tough game. You've got to be relentless. You've got to be resilient. You've got to be strong. You've got to be patient. You've got to be willing to tie money up for long periods of time.
Yeah.
So focus on all aspects, and it'll stand you in good stead to be successful.
Yeah, I like that analogy, and I think we've discussed before. A lot of the qualities that you need to succeed, I should say, in the gym and keep yourself healthy is delayed gratification. You go to the gym for 3 months and you don't really see a difference, but you keep going every day, eating right, going to the gym, and then 12 months down the line you start to see the benefits, don't you? And that's similar with property. It's a long-term game, isn't it?
It really is, mate.
But the aspects of life, like the gym, sort of teach you delayed gratification, don't they?
100%. Yeah, it's a great analogy, mate.
Yeah. So if you could do it all again, what would you do differently and why?
Start earlier.
Yeah.
That would be the main one. Honest, mate, it's the best thing I've ever done. It's my passion now. And I really do wish my journey's my journey. I wouldn't, the lessons I've learned and the mistakes I've made, I wouldn't change them because I'm where I am now because of those lessons, and it's educated me and it's made me the better person that I am today.
Yeah.
And I can pass that knowledge on to other people now.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't necessarily change anything. I would just get stuck in earlier. I would stop worrying about it. Do your due diligence, do your research, but go for it, get involved quicker.
Yeah. I guess, I think that most people, that's similar to most people's answer that I've asked so far, is, your journey is your journey. Your lessons, you wouldn't necessarily change because they've given you so much value going forward. Yeah. But the earlier you start, it's I'm pushing my nephews. I've got one nephew's 18, one nephew's 17, and I'm pushing them now to start saving for that first deposit and educate themselves, which they are doing.
Absolutely. Even if it's just get your head in the book, just start, researching the strategies, get out there viewing houses.
Exactly.
Build that foundation to be able to do it.
Yeah, build relationships with agents.
Yeah. I don't want to sound negative here, but I always said that I was like the Neely man. I nearly made it to football. I was at Sunderland when I was younger at school.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing to miss out on.
Yeah, you're right there. My dad wouldn't agree with you, but and then I went into reality TV, nearly made it, the bubble burst.
Yeah.
Now I'm making it in property.
Yeah.
I've found my calling now. It's what I'm good at, and I'm sticking it out.
Yeah. Well, without getting too deep, I think we all have those Neelys, don't we? We all attempt and fail at so many things as we grow older.
Yeah, exactly.
And when you finally find the thing that is going to be your long-term passion, I guess, those Neelys, you understand why, don't you?
They all make sense, don't they?
Of course they do, yeah. So there's a lot of exciting things going on in your life at the moment, not just professionally, but at home as well. Obviously, you've got your first baby on the way.
Yeah, mate, really exciting times. First little girl on the way. So me and our lass are really excited. She's due in February, so...
Oh, superb.
Yeah, honest mate, we're both buzzing. It's a first for us, so life's going to change dramatically. The fact I bought, the house recently as well. It's going to be a busy year next year.
Yeah. Oh, someone to pass the empire down to as well.
And that's it, isn't it? It's about creating that legacy and building that foundation and that future.
Yeah.
And you know what? Now I've got the baby on the way. I've got that purpose.
Yeah.
Do you know? I mean, I've always been driven and always been motivated, but now knowing that we're starting a little family,
Bit extra.
It means everything now, mate.
Superb, mate. Superb. Well, Liam, it's been an absolute pleasure, mate, to have you on. Thank you for your time. Some absolute golden nuggets there for property investors starting out.
So, mate.
And I look forward to having you back on the show in 12 months' time. We'll see your further progress. Where's the best place for anyone wanting to get in touch with you? Where's the best place for them to reach out?
I would say Instagram, probably the best platform to get me on. I'm always on there, whether it's at LiamLou23 or at LHL Properties Limited. You'll get me on there. Anyone looking to do any JVs or training and mentorship, that type of thing, slide me a DM.
Yeah.
And I'm more than happy to chat.
Superb, mate. Superb. All right. Well, if you're listening or watching to this, please do give us a like or a follow. It really does help. And many thanks. Till next time.
Cheers, mate. Honest, it's been a pleasure. Really appreciate it.
Take care, mate.
Cheers.
Cheers.